Hello and welcome to our fourth episode of Answering Anti-Islam. Episode 4, Smart People, Dumb Conclusions. On previous episodes of Answering Anti-Islam, I've been rebutting commonly held notions about Islam that are demonstrably false. Unfortunately, it seems even intelligent people like Christian David Wood can be roped into false dilemmas. I have absolutely nothing against the man, only his ideas about Islam. In this video, you can see him perpetuating a lot of the misinformation I often address. Most of the time, and this case is no exception, non-Muslims' conclusions about Islam are usually misguided. A great example here right off the bat is Wood's very belief every Muslim believes the same thing, which I've illustrated in previous videos as false. Sure, there are some core Islamic values and principles, but we don't even agree on exactly what Sharia law is. For example, Christians in particular have a very hard time grasping the disorganization of Islam. There's a plurality of people who call themselves Muslims. So without understanding the different traditional schools of Islam, uninformed opinion will be the result. I'll be commenting on this video as it plays back. Normally I don't chop up videos, but I'm going to on this one because there's a lot of reiteration as well as horseplay. Also, for those of you who are, shall I say, sensitive to cross-dressing, you may not want to watch this. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
A London-based group calling themselves the Muslim Patrol has finally managed to flip my Annoy Me switch. And now it's on. Anyone who so much as suggests that Western nations should guard our core values against the demands of Sharia is immediately met with charges of racism, bigotry, and yawn Islamophobia. Certain Muslims in the UK have been so thoroughly encouraged by the outright cowardice of our leaders and the media, they've started patrolling the streets of London to enforce Islamic law.
He really means their version of Islamic law.
Remove yourself away from the mosque. Go away from the mosque now. Muslim Patrol. Muslim Patrol.
And cover up these naked women. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
You call it, obviously, to not dress like that in Muslim area. It's a Muslim area.
This is a Muslim area. No drink in this area, this is Muslim area.
Okay?
Now, of course, the popular belief is that Muslims can't drink alcohol, but in the Hanafi school of fiqh law, it's only alcoholic beverages made from grapes and dates that are not allowed. So this kind of illustrates the plurality of views in the Islamic schools of fiqh law.
Vigilantes implementing Islam upon your own necks.
There's a new sheriff in town. Unfortunately, he's so busy worrying about people drinking beer that he just can't find time to stop the rampant sexual abuse of young British girls by Pakistani rape gangs. So, having a pint? Haram. Gang raping 11-year-old infidels? Halal.
Actually, in fiqh law, rape is a sex crime among other sex crimes referred to as zina, and some see it punishable by death.
Welcome to the bizarro morality of Islam. In the latest video, the Sharia Avengers harass a homosexual man for the way he's dressed and for wearing makeup.
Look at you. What's wrong with your face, mate? What's wrong with your face? Why are you dressed like that for? Why are you dressed like that for?
Why are you bothering me? I'm not
Because you're walking through a Muslim area. You're walking through a Muslim area dressed like a fag, mate.
So far, 5 Muslims have been arrested for carrying out their fatwa-fueled mission of bringing Sharia to the people of London. But let's face it, what exactly is the British legal system, sadomasochists of multiculturalism, going to do to a handful of Muslims who are just trying to follow their religion? I mean, this is the same legal system that allowed the Pakistani rape gangs to rape young British girls for years. Why? Because arresting the rapists might have made the Pakistani community feel uncomfortable.
Now, this was published on David Wood's YouTube channel in 2013, and that was when the Rotherham child sexual exploitation scandal basically emerged. And there were a bunch of people arrested, and there were other people who were convicted of rape who happened to be Pakistanis. So that kind of kills that little narrative right there. Also, as you can see, the police feared racism, and race and religion are two different things. I would hope that Christian would agree with me.
And a few dozen young girls is a small sacrifice to make on the altar of tolerance, isn't it? So, these 5 Muslims will be given warnings, or fines, or a few days of jail dawah, and they'll emerge, stoned out of their minds on the drug they call martyrdom, more confident than ever that the British government will stand in the way of Sharia about as much as the Afghan government will stand in the way of honor killings.
So let's unpackage this for a second. Sharia law does not condone rape. I've said many times on the internet, if somebody can prove that to me, I will give them $1 million, because you're not going to find it anywhere. The other thing that Sharia law does not condone is killing in certain circumstances, especially the so-called honor killings. Honor killings actually are a pre-Islamic practice in certain regions. So that's where those come from. It's not Islamic at all.
Your leaders, O citizens of London, are as useful to your city as a broken traffic light. That's where I come in. You see, there's only one way to dissuade a band of wannabe jihadists from imposing Sharia on a local population. You have to plant deep into their hearts the fear that their actions will ultimately lead to the ridicule and degradation of their prophet. They're not scared of a slap on the wrist, but they are scared of a slap on their Islamic self-esteem.
As you know, Allah says in the Quran, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. That you are the best nation, not because you sit inside a masjid, rather you command the good and you forbid the evil.
Let's take a simple example. Obviously, I wouldn't be allowed to walk through one of the Muslim-patrolled areas of London because I've managed to squeeze this 240 pounds of awesomeness into the only garment in my wife's dresser stretchy enough to hold it. But this raises an important question. If I'm not free to walk down a street guarded by Sharia stormtroopers, who else would be harassed and exiled if he showed up in London nowadays? Jesus wouldn't last very long. He used to hang out with tax collectors and alcoholics and prostitutes. They were drawn to him. Not the sort of crowd that would be welcomed by a group of Sharia-philes.
So again, for someone with a Ph.D. education in religion and religious philosophy, he should know that some early converts to Islam were drunkards, and tax collecting is actually a function of a caliphate.
Plus, Jesus is a Jew, and we don't need Scotland Yard to figure out how well that would go over. Even more interesting, if Muhammad himself were to walk through one of these Sharia-clad no-go zones, he would be chased off the street faster than you can say cross-dressing prophet. Let's look at a passage from Islam's most trusted source on the life of Muhammad. This is Sahih al-Bukhari, number 2442 in the Aisha Bewley translation. I'll post a link to the complete hadith in the description box of this video in case you'd like to read it.
So before he gets into this, I just want to mention that the websites that they use are websites like religionofpeace.com that basically manipulate what they're quoting so that way it furthers their argument better.
In this passage, Muhammad's 9 wives are feuding with each other because his favorite wife, his child bride Aisha, is getting special privileges. She's receiving more gifts than the other wives.
Ah yes, the classic child bride argument. So the facts are that at that time, most people of the world, whether we like it or not because of our modern morals, did actually used to marry younger girls. Now, usually they could not copulate with these girls until they reached puberty. Jews also did this, and I don't hear any Christians complaining about that, so I would think that it would be more consistent if they did. Oh, right, but that would be anti-Semitic, wouldn't it?
So, some of these disgruntled wives get together and decide to ask Muhammad for equal treatment. Here's Muhammad's response. Do not injure me regarding Aisha. The revelation does not come to me when I am in the garment of any woman except Aisha. In other words, don't complain about Aisha. Allah gives me revelations when I'm wearing Aisha's garments, but not when I'm wearing your garments. So Allah obviously favors Aisha over the rest of you. Now stop asking for equal treatment. This hadith raises a lot of questions, among them. What in the name of RuPaul is Muhammad doing wearing women's clothes?
So really now we get into the problem of interpretation, and of course he's going to interpret it in an extreme way because he's not a Muslim, but the way I interpret this is in the garment of Aisha, meaning under her protection, in her presence. It's not that hard to see, or even because of her love.
The Muslim sources contain more than 30 references to Muhammad wearing women's clothing. I'll include several examples in the link I mentioned. The narration we looked at in Bukhari uses the word thawb, which is like our word garment in that it can refer to a man's garment or a woman's garment. But in context, it's the thawb of Aisha that Muhammad's wearing. Pretty creepy. Some of the sources, however, including Sahih Muslim, say that Muhammad was in Aisha's mirt, which refers specifically to a woman's garment, more like our word dress. The Arabic dictionary Al-Mujam al-Wasit defines mirt as a dress from wool or cotton that is used as an izar, or a cover, by a woman. And just when you thought things couldn't possibly get any creepier, we read in Musnad Ahmed, Muawiyah said, I saw the Prophet sucking on the tongue or the lips of Al-Hasan, son of Ali. For no tongue or lips that the Prophet sucked on will be tormented by hellfire.
So first of all, some of these hadiths or reports, and specifically the ones he's talking about, are not actually considered authentic. But let's just go ahead and assume they are. It was actually a common practice in Arabia and in other desert areas to do this with your child or your grandchildren to make them less thirsty.
Get out of here, you fag. Get out of here, mate. You bloody fag. You bloody fag. Don't stay around here anymore.
Poor Muhammad, cast out by his own people. What's that you say, Sharia fans? I should be more respectful and charitable when I discuss your beliefs? Look, I would love to be kinder and gentler in discussions about Muhammad. Unfortunately, respect and charity went out the window the moment you said,
We don't respect those who disobey God. We don't respect them.
I'm so appalled.
We don't care if you're appalled at all.
And Miss Mary, it's Great Britain.
This we don't
Women
care.
have
It's not
rights
so
as
Great
well.
Britain.
And now, my Muslim friends, we're going to play a little game. The game is called Tic Tac, and for Sharia, and watch the new video I make about your prophet, toe. The rules are simple. You harass someone on the streets of London, and I respond with a video about your prophet, sharing all of those humiliating little details you don't want people to know about.
So, there's another prime example of getting bad conclusions from bad data. Not to mention it's obvious the genuine contempt Wood has for Islam, which is fine, but he clearly goes to extremes to express it. Some would term him an Islamophobe. I don't think that term makes any sense personally. Basically, these are simply misinformed, rabid critics of Islam. Because of this, they cannot be impartial when doing research and tend to feed off each other. To me, critics of Islam are welcome. However, it's nice when they don't go to extremes and have valid arguments. I can't say this presentation followed that model at all. Misinformation and misinterpretation is rampant in cases like this, otherwise these arguments simply wouldn't work. Thanks for watching. Join us next time for another mini-sode.